was born in Lower Caplano in May the 6th, 1927. My name is Hideo Bill Kajiwara.
Toshiko, Kajiwara. Well, I was a Kunimoto.
You were born in Mission?
Mission. Yeah. We're 6 in the family, and we're the bottom 2 is Roy and
And when were you born? When?
November 15, 1925,
In Mission. In Mission.
in Mission. Mission.
Great.
Mission City. It's a little wee farm town, but it's still called Mission City. We lived up in Mount Marianne, up high
Cherry Street.
on Cherry Street, and we had good neighbors. Hakuji Barnett's. Mrs. Barnett used to be our kindergarten teacher. So she used to pull us to kindergarten every day. We all talk English. And Mom says, Japanese, Japanese. And we talk ta-ta just a little bit. And then we're back to our English again. There was 6 in our family. Of course, the older ones were old, eh? Charlie and my 5th sister Jean and Helen and
Tommy.
Tommy and my younger brother Roy. And then me. There were 6 of us. Of course, I went to Japan though.
Okay.
And I went to school, but didn't learn too much. It's so hard. Japanese is hard. I went to OA high school, and there was a lot of American Niseis there. So when we get together, we never talk Japanese. They said, hey, Japanese, Japanese. So we all change a little bit, and then we're back to English. We were bad.
Well, then they want to know what happened. Like Fumi got married, and she went to her husband was in the Japanese army.
So my older sister married him and was in Manchuria. So when I graduated high school in Japan, she called me. So I went. And then her husband got sent to Russia. And so she returned to Japan. And I wasn't going to return to Japan. I mean, I wasn't going to go to Japan. I was going to stay in Manchuria. Of course, I really didn't have a choice, so I did stay. But I had a rough time.
Why?
Hmm?
Why?
Because Manchuria was taken by Japan. And us Niseis don't get treated, very good out there. If you're a Japanese, you're okay, but they don't consider us Japanese. So we had it kind of rough, but it was okay. In a way, they were really good to us, that they don't know any English, but we know English, and anything that comes up, we're called. Yeah.
Well, I guess her older sister, the parents wanted the older sister to, learn more about Japanese culture and that.
Well, my sister was married to a Japanese officer,
That's after.
and she was lonely. So she called me from Japan to call me to join her. So I joined her, and her husband was stationed in when the Japanese and Russia was fighting. Well, he went to Russia, so naturally my sister had two little toddlers, so she wanted me to be with her. So that's where I was until the war ended. So I went through all that too.
Well, her sister, like I was telling you, that the parents wanted the big sister, but her father's intention was eventually move to Japan. After if he made money, he'll move the whole family to Japan. So he sent the older sister, but he didn't want to send the older sister herself. So they chose her because she was still,
Single and you're free.
she was young yet. So the father sent two of them to Japan in 1939. And they were there, and then the war started, so they were stuck in Japan. Yeah. And in the meantime, her sister got married.
Not knowing any Japanese. It was awful.
But you should tell them more about how you come down from where you were living, town to town, and how you guys on the coal car and.
I even went to Manchuria. That's above China. And that Manchuria is right next to Soviet Russia. So we were even in Russia. And the Russians would come and go, no, we don't know. We couldn't say a word. Yeah, it was scary. And they all got these, rifles and bullets and all over them. And they come to you like that. You don't know where to run. If you're going to get shot or what. It was life or death for a while. I went to a girls' school, and there's a lot of mostly from California, and nieces that kind of been raised by Japanese, their parents. So we all bunched together, about six or seven of us, and as soon as we get together, we're speaking English. So it wasn't lonely. I got by. Well, you learn more of Japanese, and you could talk smoothly, little, if you were just with English-speaking people, you'd never learn. But you be with the Japanese, and they try to learn your Japanese, and they try. Yeah, so I enjoyed it. At girls' school, you learn the same thing out of your textbook and math, and you learn it all in Japanese. So you have to learn your Japanese. Mm-hmm.
Well, you were close to the Russian border, eh?
We were close to the Russian border, and the Chinese are against you because they were in a war with Japan. So they didn't like us, So we really had it rough. Yeah. But you gotta take it in a stride because It's not their fault. It's not your fault. Yeah.
Well, you're working for a coal mine company or something, aren't you?
Yeah, I was working, knowing English and Japanese and a little bit of Chinese. You know, anything that comes up, well, they call you because you know more language than they do. Yeah, so it was okay. And so they treated us like, as if we were somebody, but we weren't. Yeah. My sister went back because she had 2 little kids and she couldn't look after them herself. So she had to go back to Japan and work and raise those kids. They're both out here, eh? Don and
Then tell them what happened that you had to start moving down. You're getting bummed out, so.
oh yeah, we were really bummed out. Yeah,
Tell us about that.
you never really don't know what you go through. You're scared and you're not scared. You know, you're really terrified because you never know when the plane's going to come and bomb you or the train will get bombed. And we did get bombed. Yeah. And the Russians will come and you're going, and you don't even know a word they're saying. They don't know what we're saying. It was awful. Yeah. War is awful. Yeah. Well, back and forth, it took a long time. We were on the train a lot and just
What
with
town
your,
were you in? Where'd you start from?
well, you never know where, okay, there's a train leaving certain, get off. So we jump on and then all of a sudden it stops, okay, then get off. You don't know, where am I? It was like that. You don't know where you're going or what, or if you're going to be treated properly, or, yeah. But it was okay.
Did you have to leave? Were you forced to leave?
Well, there's no country in Manchuria. You know, no Japanese background, no Hakujin or nothing to back you up. Yeah, you just gotta believe what they say and do it. Or if you don't do it, you get kicked. Yeah. Yeah, well, you try to make a few friends and you kind of trust these people. And they're going back to the same part of Japan. So we tag along with them and sometimes we lose them. Sometimes we get more. It was awful. Yeah. And I come back from Japan, from Manchuria, and the family in Japan, they just looked at me. Who are you? You know, your hair is straggly. Yeah, it was awful. Yeah, but that's war. Yeah. You don't know what you're doing, what you're eating, it's what you get. If you don't get anything, you don't have anything. Yeah, you're just a beggar. Yeah. You wouldn't wish it on anybody. But that's life when there's a war.
Yeah.
Because it's a Manchuria is a big country right next to the Soviet. Well, in fact, we went across the line to the Soviet Union. Yeah.
What did you do there?
Well, we we try to talk to them and they go, dun, 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 dun. I don't know what you're saying. God. But it was okay. We got up out of it safe by myself. And I come home and I got off at my country station on the train, and I just said, I'm home. I didn't even know where I was going, or it was war. That's war. Yeah.
It was during the wars, wartime, so they went to school, but I don't know what for. They didn't learn too much. They were out, doing maybe growing potatoes or something for the country, and picking up horse manure on the street, or the school would asked the kids at school to do those things.
Well, that's because of the war.
Yeah,
You
that's
know.
why it's war.
But they're strong in
So,
other.
so as far as education goes, you didn't learn too much.
Oh, they were drilling us. The girls' school. The teacher used to get mad if you don't speak properly, or yeah. There were men and women teachers, and they were hard on us. But some teachers would take you in the corner and they said, don't take it hard. Now you try, They used to be nice to us, but they all can't be nice.
And then they would come in, Russians would come in and trying to get into these houses. They were all boarded up, but they were in there and they're hiding behind the big drapes. And soldiers were trying to open the thing up.
Well, that goes on all the time in a war. It's natural. You can't say one is bad or one is good, or they're both obeying their own country, and it is bad.
But I don't know how they managed with no money.
Well, you go into anybody's house. It's not just your own house. You just go and run from your enemy and run behind the drapes, or if they catch you and shoot you, that's your fault. So you might as well hide yourself really good. And you can't say one is bad or one is good. They're both bad. But they're both trying to protect themselves. Yes, so I don't know. War is awful.
Like, when they're running away from the Russian and like getting moved, trying to keep ahead of them, and they're all in these open boxcars, and that's all they had. Everybody jump in, whoever wants to go, well, they had no other choice but to be in the car to get away from the enemy, But there's some interesting stories I think she missed out on. Like, at that time, there's still enemies were coming down and they were bombing these people, and people were, trying to get away, and there's people, some ladies with kids that she couldn't handle, so she just had to leave the kids, and just try and save herself. Yeah.
War is awful. War is terrible. You can't say both. One side is worse than the other. It's a war.
The Russians were really bad.
So was
Yeah.
this side.
All the young girls had to put, cover their face with mud or something to look older, so they wouldn't look like young girls. They
Oh yeah.
hopped on anything they could get on.
Anything that moves and the door opens, we got on. That'll go south. So we got on that.
And that's how they worked themselves down to Korea, and then they caught the boat to go to Japan.
Yeah.
Did you have money to buy a ticket?
No,
No
they had no money.
How did you get on the boat then?
Well, they were all like that.
Everybody's like
Everybody
that.
had no money.
Nobody's got them. Everybody's run out of money, and they were all like what you see in a show or something, where they're, they just got nothing, just some belongings on them. No money. You just hop on whatever you can.
So were you stowaways on the boat?
No.
No? Refugees?
Yeah, I guess it's a refugee, yeah.
Yeah. Did you have a passport?
No.
Nothing. We hadn't. We go on and we say we got nothing. And it's a boat from Japan, so they let us on. And we just go back. And when I got off the...
So when the boat headed towards Japan, then they found out somebody had cholera or something. So the whole boat got quarantined.
That happens quite often. It's scary. It's really scary.
Did you get sick?
No,
Did you get sick? No.
no. We try to hide. Yeah. We went through a lot, but you just think that maybe there's about 1,000 of us. They're all going different ways. Some go up north, some go down south. We're all just traveling without knowing what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
1,000 of you.
And I was by myself too. Yeah. I went running up that little town where I lived, Ozu, just like a real orphan. Nothing. And I could be wearing soldier's clothes, because you got no clothes. Wear their pants and shirt. Wear whatever that fits you. And in those times, you don't care as long as you got something on. Yeah, it was terrible.
Well, they were on the outskirts of Kumamoto, Kumamoto City. I think the city got bombed.
The city got bombed more than the town, so we were quite lucky. But everybody's just shivering, scared that the bomb's going to come and hit you any time. Yeah. You never know. So the little bit of belongings, you carry it around your waist and run. Yeah. It was a scary time. Yeah. And I did a lot of running, even crossed the ocean and went to Manchuria. That's China. That's part of South and the Soviet Union. And you don't know their language. And And a lot of times I'm traveling alone. A lot of people died. If you don't run, you die. Yeah, it's really scary. Well, those kind of time, you just hope you could find a little job that you could have a little bit of spending money, and that's about all we did. There's no big company or anything. Everything was just fighting, fighting. You know, you got to get over this. You got to get over that. Or they're not going to take you in as a refugee and look after you. You got to fight. Yeah, it was awful.
But after you got back from Kyushu, I mean, from Manchuria, you worked for Finnegan's, didn't you?
Yeah, that was really, really.
For American, he was a captain,
these
wasn't he?
American service people, they're there with their family. They got little wee kid, couple of kids, and they just love to have you come and stay with them and they used to treat me like their daughter. As long as you look after the little kids once in a while. And they're from America, and they were very nice. Yeah, they were so nice. They used to send us pictures and yeah.
Come back to Canada,
And married him.
1948, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's a long time in Japan.
Yeah, about 9 years, I think.
Yeah.
I went to school there. Didn't learn anything.
Well, but you must have spoken Japanese, got to speak very good Japanese by then.
But it's war. It's no time to study. No time. You're just you just gotta go where you can go, and they don't care for your any English-speaking people. Yeah. Sometimes they need the English-speaking, and then you're okay. But sometimes they don't, and they treat you like dirt. Yeah. They don't treat you like you're a Japanese.
Right.
That's the whole trouble. Yeah.
So what did you do there in the 9 years? You went to school, Japanese school, did you?
Or just went.
You
Yeah.
didn't enjoy it.
Didn't enjoy it, didn't learn much.
Yeah.
No. It was awful. But that's war. Yeah.
Did
You
make
never realize what war is until you go through that. Yeah. You're always running with a little bit of thing you could carry. And that's about it. Well, the first boat that leaves Japan, I hopped on. I didn't care if I had any money or not. I hopped on. And they ask you, and they're all like that. You know. Nobody's got any money or anything. You just want to go back. I thought just as long as I reach America, somebody will save me. So that's how I left, and I was able to go straight to, and then Mom and them, where were they? They were in Alberta. They were even in Alberta. And I had to look for them there. Yeah. But
Yeah, she come over on the General Gordon, the American ship. And at that time, you know, it just went to San Francisco. There was no boat coming to Vancouver to San Francisco. So she come to San Francisco, and from San Francisco she had to take the train all the way, to thing and cross over at Kingsgate.
You
And,
gotta be gutsy because you got nothing.
And then the train went to Lethbridge, and that's where she ended up.
By myself.
And at that time, like, even the train, they just had kerosene lamp. Hey.
Yeah. It was awful. But it was awful, but it was okay for us. Because you could get on for nothing, and they'll understand it,
Because it was wartime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you know your parents were in Lethbridge? Did you write to each other? Did you get letters or mail or anything?
Well, they called her back because her mother was sick, so they wanted her to look after her. So that's why they wrote and said that to come back. But they didn't tell her the condition of her mother or nothing. She didn't find out till she got to Lethbridge that her mother was sick.
She was on her deathbed. Yeah. But I was only glad to see them.
So she looked after her invalid mother for 17 years.
So she didn't die right away.
No.
I really looked after them, my dad and my mom. Yeah, I think I did it the most. Even if I was out of the country and they wanted me. Yeah.
So when we got married, well, she couldn't leave home, so I had to move in with the family.
That you didn't like.
I didn't just marry her, I married the whole family.
That's what they wanted you for. They didn't like their own sons.
And then the war started. That was in December, remember? December, was it? December 7th or something? I lived in Caplano, and we had to leave Caplano before the end of the year. So it gave us about 3 weeks to just pack our stuff, and then we went to Steveston because my sister had a big house there, so we moved in with her till April, I guess, and then we went to Alberta. Mm-hmm.
So we is your whole family? Who was your family at that time?
At that time, well, there was 4 kids and my mother, I guess, yeah. Yeah, so, well, my mother couldn't, make enough money for all of us, so my older half-brother, he helped us a lot, That's my half-brother and her sister was Haya, Chick's mother. But after the war, after we moved to Pitcher Butte, on the farm, well, in the summertime, you're busy on the farm, but in the winter, there's nothing to do. So when I was 17, I think, I went up to Slade Lake up north to work in a bush camp. Yeah.
What was that like?
Yeah, just to, make money. You don't make much because I think we're getting paid $30 a month. So, was it $60 maybe? And then it was room and board we had to pay and everything. You didn't make, didn't make too much money. but I would work like that, and I come home and I keep a little bit of money for myself, and I did the rest I gave to my mother, like, you know, to thing. And I did that till, you know, for about 4 or 5 years, I guess, you know. And then her brother-in-law had a big farm in Alberta, so I went to work for him, and that's how I met her. Yeah. But in the meantime, in 1952, things weren't very good in Alberta Farmer, so I come out to Hope, where Tashmi is now. Yeah, and I worked there in 52, and at that time they're still trying to clear all that houses and whatnot at Tashmi. So at that time I was operating a big caterpillar, you know, and so I worked on that farm too, you know, because there was a strike that year that, you know, IWA shut down everything. So, but I was on the farm, I was working at Tashmi, and they hired me to, you know, clear all that land. Yeah, yeah. So I did that, and then in 53 I worked in the farm again, and then in 54 we decided we were married, but I didn't have no money, so I had to make some money somehow. So I come out to Hope again, and I worked there.
You didn't tell me you didn't have any money.
No. But anyways, I had to make enough money to get married and things. So I saved in that year. That summer I saved $3,500. I saved, and then we got married. Then after everything, I had $700 in my bank.
You know how my dad was. He wasn't going to let any loose money go.
But anyways, I got on, after I got married, well, I couldn't work on the farm, so I had to find something in the city. So there was an ad in the paper, they wanted somebody in the lumber yard, and I was working in the lumber yard. So I come down and I applied for it, and I got the job. So I worked in the lumber yard for about 6 months, and then I got promoted. I was in the sales then, you know, in the lumber yard. Then after that, what happened? Oh, after that, the company started a cement plant, and they had a guy hired, but he got drunk on the first day, so they had to fire him. So they asked me to take over. So I managed that cement plant for about 4 years, I guess. Yeah. Oh, well, what happened was, well, I worked, after that I worked in the housing construction and everything, and then her mother passed away, and then she got sick, and so doctor told us that, she has to change her environment, so it's best that we move, get away from the family. So I decided to move to the coast. That was 19, Well, we got married in '54. Yeah. So.
If I stayed with Mom, I'd stick with Mom and look after her, which was no good.
In 1967, I moved back to the coast. Yeah. And I was quite lucky. I had a job, and
They paid you
then I
good, eh?
kept on changing. Then one company I worked for, on my birthday, I got hired to work in Caplano, where I lived. They were building a wharf there, a Vancouver wharf, and put up the building. I got hired for that. And after that was finished, the boss says, you come and see us on Monday. So I went back and went to see him, and here I got a foreman job right away. Yeah.
And where was that? Along the Capilano there?
No. By that time, that was after the war. So we were living in Vancouver. So I worked for this company in Burnaby, and they had two companies, one IWA and one for the union, for the builders union. So I worked on both sides like that for till I retired. No, till I retired. Before I retired, I guess, yeah. Then I changed again. I went to work for Sam. You know Sam Yamamoto? He had a company, and I worked for him for about a couple of years. And then I retired. But
What was your occupation then? What did you call
well, I was in
yourself?
construction,
Yeah.
but I was in, commercial then. In Westbridge, I was just housing. I was just building houses. But when I got to Vancouver, I switched over to commercial job, building, putting big buildings up. I put up 2 buildings up in North Vancouver, Park and Tilford is.
Oh, yeah.
They used to do a distillery there, whiskey distillery. And I put up 2 buildings there, big building. And then...
you managed the project? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I looked after everything. Yeah. And I only had grade 8 education. But I, just learned how to do this and that, and then I, working for Regent, they got, somehow they were connected with Odeon Theatre. So I worked for Odeon Theatre, doing Odeon Theatre job for 7 years, repairing and building, fixing these theatres up for Western Canada. So I did 3 jobs in Calgary. I did 3 jobs in Edmonton. I built a brand new triple theater in Prince George. And I did a job in Victoria. I did all the downtown theaters down here, like the Vogue and the Odeon and all that. I did all that. And then I did all, like Fraser Theatre. There's the theater on Fraser Street, remember? Yeah, I did that job. West Vancouver, Victoria. And, that kept me going for 7 years. But most of these jobs, the company just send me, and I have to take over and do everything. Yeah, so it was quite interesting.
Good for you. Good for you. Yeah. You married well, Toshiko.
But she never worked in her life, because she was looking after her mother. But when we moved out here, she worked in the fish cannery.
Which one? Which one was that?
Oh, she works at Millard, Francis Millard. Yeah, and then she works over in White Pine
And you know, like where I first started, well, your mom used to work there, and you know, he,
yeah, you
he's
did. Eh?
so they all knew me that I'm related to them, and they put me right on the top and really treated me good. Yeah, it's who you know.
Did you enjoy that work?
Oh yeah, it was just fixing the cans. You know, the machine cans the fish and the cans come down. Well, there's girls ahead of me, and when it goes on the final line, we had to look after it. So it was easy.
No, we have quite a few English people, you know, that we knew. All our good friends, like in Lethbridge, we still correspond with them or go see them, you know, when we can. But yes, yeah, like we weren't really strong Buddhists, but, you know, we did go to church all the time, you know. Yeah, we put up rice and, you know, still do that. Well, that's what do you call it? Little altar, I guess, eh? And supposed to, it's something in the house that we look at, you know, and believe in, I guess, what it is.
What?
The Buddhism.
Oh, she got it sent from Japan. It's from Japan. Ashes and sand and just to let the thing stand up. And you know, you can't have it empty. You need sand or something. And I think Dad got that sent from Japan.
Cat's brought it.
The altar. He
So he was a strong Buddhist.
Dad?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He was totally Buddhist. Whereas Mom, she was a Christian or Buddhist, whatever you want.
No, some Japanese to talk to our mother, eh? You know, because she didn't understand English.
How about you, Toshiko? Toshi? What language did you speak at home to your parents?
What language? English.
Most Japanese, eh? I speak to them in Japanese. You hardly say anything to them.
No, but without your parents playing the kids all the time, mostly English.
I talk to them in Japanese. Well, I was in Japan. That's all you talk in Japan. That was hard. That's what my mom sent me back for.
To speak Japanese? To learn Japanese?
Well, I just knew so much. And if you really go to Japan and speak, they talk so fast, you can't understand them sometimes. So that's what you got to get used to, that fast talking. Isn't that right? I don't like talking Japanese because my Japanese is heta. Yeah.